Asajj Ventress is one of the most captivating Star Wars characters, and one of my favorite characters from the Clone Wars era. She's introduced as a simple villain, as Count Dooku's fierce and mysterious assassin. Over time, her story transforms into something much deeper, an inner journey of pain, survival, and self-discovery. In this video, I want to break down Ventress's story, her biggest turning points, her character growth, and why I think she stands out as one of Star Wars' most fascinating anti-heroes. For this analysis, I'll only be pulling from new canon material: the Clone Wars movie, the TV series, Tales of the Empire, The Bad Batch, and the novel Dark Disciple. This video contains spoilers ahead, so if you're not familiar with this content, this is your warning. Ventress's first canon appearance is in the movie Star Wars: The Clone Wars. She's a sinister, cold, and ruthless assassin, and the first female dark side user shown on screen. Unfortunately, in this movie, her dialogue falls flat with only a few cringy lines, but what she lacks in character depth, she makes up for in her impressive combat skills and force abilities. At the end of the film, the Jedi thwart her mission, and Obi-Wan tries to get Ventress to surrender. He tells her that her master will be displeased by her failure. She doesn't refute his claim, and quickly escapes. This is the first hint at what is to come for Ventress. She is eager to please and to prove her worth. But as a disciple of the dark side, displeasing her master doesn't just mean disapproval. It means the possibility of being killed or discarded. Her survival hinges on her constant success and her master's approval. Despite her early failure, Ventress continues as Dooku's assassin in the Clone Wars TV series. In each appearance, her personality develops further. She's witty.
Don't flatter yourself, Kenobi. You've never been much to look at.
Intelligent.
Poor Obi-Wan. You've been betrayed.
Flirtatious.
My dear General, there's nothing you have that I could want.
And manipulative.
Yes, she offered me money, but she offered me something more important, something you wouldn't understand. Freedom!
Outwardly, her confidence never wavers, but her motivations remain unclear for most of the early seasons. She acts like Dooku's right hand, but doesn't have any real influence, title, or power. She can't be a Sith according to the rule of two, so as an audience, we see an antagonist that is chasing goals that aren't actually available to her. And on some level, Ventress knows this. It's what keeps her addicted to proving herself. This starts to show after her defeat at the Battle of Kamino. She goads Anakin and the clones.
I suppose you expect me to surrender.
Actually, I plan to let the clones execute.
Not this time.
And narrowly escapes with the help of General Grievous. The moment she's alone, her breathing grows heavy, her eyes narrow with shame. She looks genuinely disappointed. This is a notable reaction coming from a Star Wars villain. It suggests something deeper, an emotional conflict hidden beneath a confident exterior. Even though she wields great power, she's still deeply afraid. Sensing Ventress's growing power, Sidious begins to believe that Dooku is training his own apprentice. He decides to test his loyalty by ordering him to kill her. When she is injured in battle with Anakin and Obi-Wan shortly after, Dooku seizes the opportunity to obey his master's command. He tells Ventress that she has failed him for the last time, and he intends to leave her for dead. He doesn't just secretly give the command. He makes sure she knows that she has failed, and he will be the one to end her. Dooku further twists the knife of his betrayal by calling her child, which infantilizes her and tugs at her deepest insecurities. For someone like Ventress, who has worked so hard to please, this is cruel emotional rejection. She never knows the source of his betrayal, but the reality is that failure was never the reason for her discard. She would have made a worthy apprentice, which made her a threat to Sidious's plans. Weakness did not lead to her being betrayed. Chasing acceptance and approval she was never going to get did. And I think this is a really relatable feeling, where you can do everything right and still fail. In her case, this extreme discard revealed something deeper. Her motivations are misguided, and she's reaching for purpose in all of the wrong places. For an assassin who has previously shown a callous disregard for life, this isn't an easy shift for audiences to embrace. It complicates how we view her. Is she just a ruthless killer, or someone struggling to rise above the pain that has defined her? Does she deserve redemption? Cast adrift with nowhere to go, Ventress returns to her homeworld of Dathomir, where her complicated past unravels. As a baby, she was taken from her mother's arms and sold into slavery as payment to save her coven. Years later, her master was killed in a violent conflict, leading to a second abandonment in her short life. When the Jedi Kai Narek noticed her power in the Force, he took her on as his apprentice. His intentions may have been good, but like many Jedi, he was blind to the lasting scars of attachment and trauma. Rather than letting her heal and seek her own path, he created a new one for her. And so, once again, Ventress became bound to a master with no other support system. As a teenager, Ventress was soft, kind, and deeply bonded to her master. But when Kai Narek was killed in combat, her abandonment wounds surfaced. In a blind rage, she tapped into the dark side, destroying her master's killer. Her incomplete Jedi training never gave her the tools to manage grief and loss. All of her past wounds came back in an instant, leading her down a dark path. By the time Dooku discovered her, Ventress had already fallen into darkness. So she did what she's always done. She bowed to a new master, the only form of connection she's ever known. During Ventress's time with the Nightsisters, she repeats this same pattern, attaching to the Coven's leader, Mother Talzin. Talzin supports Ventress's desire to take revenge against Count Dooku, and Ventress seeks her validation and approval. Ventress is lost in grief and emotionally unequipped to move forward in a healthy way. She doesn't notice that, in many ways, Talzin is hoping to use Ventress's power to serve the Nightsisters' greater ambitions. Under Talzin's guidance, Ventress becomes increasingly cruel, consumed by her need for revenge. They devise a plan to train a Dathomirian male as a new apprentice for Dooku, an undercover weapon they can use to assassinate him later. The men on Dathomir are subjugated by the Nightsisters in a power inversion that mirrors patriarchal societies throughout the galaxy. Ventress treats the brothers of Dathomir with callous disregard. She berates and kills them without a second thought. And when she finally selects Asajj Ventress, she helps to turn him into a monster with little left of his former self. Between the cultural norms of the matriarchal society and Ventress's tunnel vision for her assassination plot, she uses Asajj, a once caring and intelligent man, as a tool for her own goals. She strips him of his agency, something that may feel normal or necessary from her own experiences. She continues to act out of her old patterns and wounds, diminishing her moral compass even further. Asajj is the first acolyte Ventress claims for herself, but lacking any model of healthy mentorship, she resorts to the only methods she knows: dominance, pressure, and beratement. During their confrontation with Dooku, she pushes him too hard, and he snaps. Feeling betrayed and used, Asajj lashes out and abandons them both. Dooku turns to Ventress and coldly remarks,
"A failed apprentice makes for a foolish master."
The words cut deep, compounding her sense of failure, not just in losing Asajj, but in failing her sisters, herself, and the identity she was struggling to rebuild. Once again, Ventress escapes, wounded, dejected, and further untethered from the person she hoped to become. At this point in her story, Ventress has developed a clear pattern of failure. She is stuck repeatedly chasing goals that are never truly hers to achieve. Each time she submits herself to a stronger leader, she ends up worse off. Used, discarded, and more wounded than before. Like Asajj was to her, she becomes an asset to others rather than a person in her own right. At her core, Ventress is deeply pained, but she keeps being given chances to change her path. Her actions are driven not by ideology or power lust or greed, but by discomfort, betrayal, and a desperate search for identity. The next time we see Ventress, she returns to Dathomir after reflecting on her failed plot. In her despair, she concedes,
I have nothing.
For someone whose entire survival depended on talent and constant success, failure feels paralyzing. Mother Talzin tries to reframe her grief, reminding her,
You have your breath, your skill, and your sisters.
She encourages Ventress to stay and to live as one of the Nightsisters. On the surface, this seems like good guidance. She's telling her not to depend too much on others for happiness. But in practice, Talzin is simply replacing one allegiance with another. Ventress responds to her suggestion, asking simply,
And then?
That single question reveals a lot about Ventress's own ambitions. Life as a Nightsister isn't enough for her, even if she doesn't know what she really wants. She doesn't fully belong amongst the Sith, the Jedi, or the Nightsisters. She hasn't taken the time or been given the chance to figure herself out. Ventress agrees to Talzin's offer, but during the celebration of her rebirth as a Nightsister, General Grievous and the droid army arrive to eliminate the witches for their attempt on Dooku's life. The first to fall is Karis, the only sister who openly supported Ventress, deepening her grief and fueling her rage. Ventress leads the attack, refusing to let Dooku and Grievous take her down. Grievous massacres nearly all of the Nightsisters, with only Ventress and Mother Talzin able to escape. As Talzin begins to vanish into the mist, she urges Ventress to forge her own path. Desperate and broken, Ventress pleads,
You can't leave me here!
But Talzin is gone, and Ventress is left alone, abandoned on a haunted, war-torn planet, with no one left to follow and no direction to turn. The following episode, Bounty, opens with the quote, "Who we are never changes, who we think we are does." It sets the tone for Ventress's internal conflict after her failure on Dathomir. While drinking alone at a bar, Ventress rejects unwanted advances made by the bounty hunter Oked. When he becomes aggressive, she kills him without hesitation. She has no remorse about taking life, making it clear she's not on a traditional hero's journey. Killing Oked leaves Ventress indebted to his team, forcing her into their next mission. It's a pattern we keep seeing. Whenever she leans into being a villain, she ends up outplayed. During that mission, Ventress learns that the bounty isn't just cargo. It's a young girl named Pluma being sold off as a child bride. Pluma unknowingly touches a nerve in Ventress when she says to her,
I never asked to be ripped away from my home. From my family. You'll never know what it's like.
Ventress takes this to heart. Her entire life has been shaped by being torn away, by slavery, betrayal, and loss. In this moment, she faces a crossroads. She chooses to aid Pluma, but still secures money from the client and keeps the girl as a temporary hostage in order to retrieve a second bounty from her family. This move isn't malicious from her perspective. It's pragmatic and symbolic. By keeping the exchange transactional, Ventress remains in control, and she avoids confronting the deeper emotional resonance of her actions. Ventress's moral and monetary success sparks a new drive. She's found a calling she excels at, and one she gets to choose. Bounty hunting is more than survival. It allows her to reclaim agency, set her own values, and navigate the galaxy entirely on her own terms. For the first time, she is neither apprentice nor a pawn, but something self-made. Armed with new confidence as a bounty hunter, Ventress goes after a bounty on her former apprentice, Asajj Ventress. It's an obvious choice for her. Not all growth is linear, and she has a strong desire to rectify past failures. Asajj is now allied with his brother, Darth Maul, and together they capture Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ventress sneaks aboard their ship and frees Kenobi, using her trademark wit and banter to cut the tension. When Obi-Wan asks,
Did you become the good guy?
she snaps back.
Don't insult me.
It's a key moment. Ventress is beginning to view the galaxy differently. Things don't seem so black and white anymore. When she served the Sith, she never thought of herself as evil. She did what she had to do in order to survive. But now, free from Dooku, she acts according to her own judgment, which involves making choices that don't fit into one ideology. Rescuing Obi-Wan was not out of loyalty to the Jedi, but a mixture of convenience for her mission and ambivalence about leaving him to die without a fight. This inner conflict resurfaces when she crosses paths with Ahsoka, Anakin's young apprentice who is accused of a crime she didn't commit. Ventress recognizes herself in the younger woman. Both have been abandoned by the institutions they trusted, and both are forced to face the galaxy alone. Their alliance is framed as transactional. Like Ventress once did with Pluma, she tells Ahsoka that she will help her only if it is in her best interest. If it becomes more advantageous for Ventress to turn her in, she will. But deep down, Ventress doesn't seem to be motivated to betray Ahsoka. A clear pattern is developing. Ventress empathizes with vulnerable people because it enables her to be the support she never received. Her last lines in the Clone Wars make this clear. Standing up for Ahsoka, she tells Anakin,
My master abandoned me, and that's exactly what you did to her. You and your precious Jedi Order.
In that single line, she forces Anakin to face Ahsoka's feelings and exposes the wound that shaped her own life. Ventress gives voice to someone else's pain, and in doing so, she shows the audience that she embraces a life of choice beyond identity. She isn't defined by following the doctrine of the Jedi or Sith. She's not a villain or a hero. She stands in a middle ground, one that isn't explored as often in the Star Wars universe. The novel Dark Disciple continues Ventress's growth arc by navigating romantic love, a totally new kind of connection for her character. When the Jedi Quinlan Vos is tasked with assassinating Count Dooku, the Jedi Council encourages him to ally with Ventress for aid. Though she is no longer associated with Dooku, she still knows him better than most. The Jedi tread unethical practices throughout the novel, and they opt to exploit Ventress, yet another institution to view her as disposable. So again, she is pulled back into the chaos she's tried to leave behind. Vos pretends to team up with her as a bounty hunter, but bonds with Ventress and eventually tells her his true reason for seeking her out. She agrees to help him and trains Vos to use the dark side without being consumed by it, not out of cruelty, but because she believes it's the only way he can stand a chance against Dooku. During their time training together, they begin to fall in love. It's unlike any dynamic Ventress has ever known. She chooses to love and is chosen back, simply for who she is. But tragedy soon follows when Vos is captured by Dooku and fully turns to the dark side. He lashes out at Ventress and talks about their relationship with finality and bitterness. She is devastated, not just because she fears she's lost him for good, but because the new foundation of love and trust she was learning to build was ripped away by echoes of her past choices. This time, Ventress chooses not to run away, but to stay and fight for Vos. She risks her safety and pride by confronting the Jedi and engaging Dooku directly in combat. During a final confrontation with Dooku, Ventress makes the ultimate choice. She steps in front of his Force lightning that was meant for Voss and sacrifices herself. No longer running, no longer chasing approval. In that moment, she acts with complete clarity, choosing love and her own moral compass over fear and self-preservation. Ventress dies in Voss's arms, and she dies as herself. Ventress reappears in The Bad Batch, a show that takes place after the events of Dark Disciple. In my opinion, this decision took the power out of her arc in ultimate sacrifice, but it also opened up new avenues for her character. It's now the era of the Empire, and Ventress continues working in the shadows as a bounty hunter. We don't know yet how any of this is possible. She locates a young clone named Omega, who is being hunted by the Empire due to her potential as a Force user. Omega is teamed up with Clone Force 99, a group of renegade clones who remember Ventress as a separatist assassin and are wary of her motivations. Their distrust doesn't shake her. Ventress stands firmly in her new identity. She reveals an important revelation when she tells them,
We were pawns in the same war, and we all lost. I'm many things, but I am not your enemy.
Here, she fully acknowledges the broader suffering caused by the Clone Wars, no longer trapped in the narrow pursuit of power or approval. Omega sees past Ventress's cold exterior and places trust in her.
You also stuck around instead of leaving, so I think you're trying to help me.
Omega validates an important turning point for Ventress. She doesn't try to escape when things get tough. She's not running, she chooses to stay. After testing Omega in the Force, Ventress realizes the girl is safe, loved, and happy with Clone Force 99. She lies to Omega about her midichlorian count, claiming it is not high enough for Jedi training. Not because she doubts Omega's potential, but because she doesn't want to put Omega through more trauma and take her away from her support system. In doing so, Ventress offers Omega the freedom and choice that she herself was denied as a child. And where she once had a pattern of destruction and failure, she now has a pattern of helping others navigate a complex galaxy. Ventress's most recent appearance in Tales of the Underworld explains the mystery of her survival at the end of Dark Disciple. After she died at Dooku's hand, the Nightsisters used Quinlan Voss's love as part of a dark magic ritual to bring her back. The catch is that she can never return to Voss. His love sustains her resurrection, so their story must stay closed. It's a cruel trade-off, but one Ventress accepts, because she no longer feels the need to reach back in order to move forward. Ventress lives a quiet life as a security guard when she crosses paths with Lyko, a young Jedi on the run from the Empire. He isn't very good at hiding, and is about to be caught when she steps in to help him. Not for money, and not for leverage, but because she recognizes his vulnerability.
You didn't have to help me.
Well, we all make bad decisions.
He tells her Quinlan Voss is alive and helping Jedi get to safety through a secret network called the Path. Hearing Voss's name stirs something in Ventress, and she feels an even greater desire to help the boy, even though she cannot risk coming in contact with Voss. This shows that her choices are no longer transactional. She acts on instinct and on empathy, even if she hides it beneath a sharp wit. She tells him early on her role as a separatist assassin in the Clone Wars, and how she likely killed Jedi he knew. Ventress doesn't shy away from her past, but owns it as a part of who she was. This revelation also gives Lyko the choice to trust her by showing him that the war is over and the galaxy is much more complicated than previously thought. When Lyko ultimately chooses to forgo the Path and stay with Ventress, he calls her a friend. She doesn't push him away, but accepts his companionship as the next chapter in her story, a new type of relationship to navigate. In my opinion, this is what makes Ventress such a fascinating anti-hero. It's exciting to watch her learn, grow, and adapt. It wasn't at all how I expected her to turn out. I think the writers did a great job with her character. Whenever a vulnerable young person is introduced in Star Wars, I anticipate Ventress to come to their aid. That's the role she embodied after everything else around her collapsed. She's not redeemed for her past actions, but she is given the opportunity to move forward differently. Navigating change and loss is something we all must face in the real world, and in my mind, Ventress has become a symbol for healing and hope. Thank you for watching. This is my first time doing any type of YouTube video, and I really wanted to talk about a character that I've thought a lot about and had fun sharing. Let me know in the comments if you have any favorite Ventress moments that I may have missed, or other thoughts about her character. Until next time.